All right, today we're going to be talking about chapter 8, lesson 2. This is called solving two-step equations. So when we're talking about two-step equations, there's a couple of different methods that we can use in order to solve for the variable. One of them is called the box and arrow method, and that's the method that you see up on the board here, or up on the screen. So what we do is in this first box, we put the variable. In this case, we're solving 2m plus 8 equals 32. So m is the variable. As we move along to the right here, we remember order of operations. And that's, remember, PEMDAS. So as we go along to the right here, we think of order of operations, and we think of what gets done first to the variable. And the first thing that gets done to the variable in the order of operations is to multiply. So what we do is we say times 2, because that's what m is being multiplied by. And then as we move to the right, the next thing being done to the variable is addition. And that is adding 8. And as we go around the corner, that equals 32. Now, as we move along the bottom of this diagram here, this box undoes the box above it. So instead of adding 8, we're going to subtract 8. And what I like to do is in this area here, kind of keep a total. So 32 subtract 8 would be 24. Again, this box undoes this box. So instead of times 2, we are dividing by 2. And we do 24, divide by 2, and that's 12. So in this case, m would be equal to 12. There's another method that we can use, and this is definitely the more mathematical way of doing it. That's more the way that we would probably want to do it. This one is definitely more visual. This one is more mathematical. So, again, same process up top there. Remember, order of operations, so PEMDAS. But first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that all of the variable terms are on one side and all the numbers are on the other side. The good thing is we have the variable term on one side, but we have this plus 8 here. So we want to get that over to the other side. We could also think of it as order of operations. This gets done first, this gets done second. So as we undo them, we go in the opposite direction. So we undo the addition by subtracting. And we like putting this line down the middle because whatever appears on one side has to appear on the other. This creates a 0 pair, and I'm left with 2m equals, again, 32 minus 8 is 24. Next thing that needs to get undone is this multiplication. It was multiplied by 2, so I'm going to go ahead and do divide by 2. Remember, this line here, as well as this line here, means to divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times m is just m. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. So again, same answer, different methods. And it's going to be your choice, whichever one you like to use. If you like using the more mathematical way, please do that. If you like using the box method, please use that. There will not be a question on any assessment that requires you to do box versus mathematical or mathematical versus box. But if you like one or the other, please do that and stick with it. Example 2, same exact style here. The only difference is now we have a rational coefficient. This is from our most recent lesson. So again, first thing is I'm multiplying and then adding. So when I undo that, I go ahead and do 2, then 1. So I want to get rid of this plus 6, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Creates a 0 pair. I'm left with just 1/4 w, and 9 minus 6 is 3. Next thing, I want to undo the multiplication, but if we recall from our rational numbers lesson, if we have a rational coefficient, instead of dividing by it, we multiply by its reciprocal. And what happens on one side has to appear on the other. When I multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, I will always get 1, and 1 times w is just w. On the right side, I have 3 times 4, and that's 12. Interestingly enough, that's the same answer as the previous problem. Now, on the back side here, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. And the reason why is because example 3 looks like a one-step equation, but it's really a two-step equation. Because this minus x is really a 5 minus 1x equals 7, or 5 plus negative 1x. Again, we look at PEMDAS. And first of all, this 5 is a positive, so we're adding it. And this negative 1 is multiplying. So the first thing we're being done is multiplying by negative 1 and then adding 5. So if I undo that, I go in the opposite direction. Again, since this 5 is positive here, I want to subtract 5 from both sides. So I have negative 1x equals 2, because this creates a zero pair. Next thing I want to undo is this multiplication. So I'm multiplying by negative 1, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. This creates just 1, so I'm left with x equals negative 2. And then example 4. This is not simplified. I have two separate terms that have the same variable raised to the same exponent, so I need to combine like terms. So b minus 3b would be a minus 2b. Plus 8 equals 18. Again, if I look at PEMDAS, I'm multiplying first and then adding second. So when I undo it, I go backwards. So the first thing I'm going to do to get rid of this plus 8, I subtract 8 from both sides. Creates a zero pair. I'm left with negative 2b equals 10. Next thing I need to undo is this multiplication. So instead of multiplying by negative 2, I'm dividing by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is just 1, and 1 times b is b. And then 10 divided by negative 2 would be negative 5. So again, make sure as you're going through and solving this, you're remembering when or what is being done as far as the order of operations goes. And then when we go ahead and undo them, we go backwards. The box method is really, really good for recognizing that and remembering that. Otherwise, do the more mathematical way. And I like showing this as far as how I'm doing things, so I know in order to go in the opposite direction. This is the end of lesson 2, so if you have any questions, please let me know.